and talk
and
over me
non-New York residents
because you don't
getting
want to
paid.
hear what I have to say.
Oh, I'm listening.
So why don't
Go
you
ahead.
just keep your mouth shut?
Oh,
Because you
is
showed
that the way
up.
to
You
talk?
showed up.
Boy, it is heating up in DC as representatives are confronting each other on Capitol Hill over this government shutdown that is now pushing into 1 week. It started off with Representative Mike Johnson getting confronted by Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona and Ruben Gallego of Arizona. They walk up and they confront Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who honestly doesn't give very satisfying answers. Then not long after, this video comes out of Representative Mike Lawler confronting Leader Hakeem Jeffries. And honestly, Jeffries really sticks the landing in this video. I think he does a great job of combating the talking points, the BS coming from MAGA. On top of that, he's convincing. He's confident, he's quick on his feet, and he kind of just rolls over the other person. I'm gonna play this interaction in 1 second, but let's start off with this interaction of Senator Gallego and Senator Kelly confronting Mike Johnson over his refusal to swear in Representative Grijalva from Arizona. This representative just won a special election after her father passed away. She is supposed to be sworn in. She was supposed to be sworn in weeks ago. This is the longest delay in American history, and it's for a few reasons. First of all, the Epstein files could be released if she is sworn in. She would be the 218th vote. Secondly, it gives Republicans less leverage overall, and overall, they're just kind of breaking the system to try to get ahead, as they do over and over and over. This time, they're not swearing in someone who won an election. So this clip is long, but I'm going to let it play out.
It just keeps on moving.
Yeah,
Well, it's not great if you want representation.
Last week,
no,
There's
there's
750.
Wait, let me answer the question. We're happy that she got elected. She's filling her father's seat. That's fantastic. We have a long tradition here and a process of how we administer the oath to a member. You know, he served here for a while. We're going to do that as soon as we get back to work, but we need the lights turned back on, so we encourage both of you to go open the government.
Didn't we
so
do
can
that
get
with the
everybody back to regular
Virginia
session.
Republican swore the person in
No,
under the
the
same circumstance?
the exception is there were 2 Floridians who were elected in a special election. This happened a couple months back. They were here on a day, they had their families here, they had a scheduled day for the oath of office, and the House was called out of session that day. They had all their family and friends here, so we went ahead and went through the process in a
Speaker,
performance.
with all due
Let me
respect,
finish. Wait, let me answer the question if you're gonna ask it. And so that was the exception we did because the family was here. Ms. Grijalva, Recollect Grijalva, has not yet had a scheduled date because she was elected after the House was out of session. So I am anxious to administer the oath to her.
How much is this
as soon
actually?
as you guys
just
vote
don't
to
want
open the
her to be
government.
on the Epstein. You don't want her to be on the Epstein discharge. How much?
It's
Because you're
totally absurd. You
no,
guys
it's
are
not absurd.
experts at
Keep
red
on moving
herrings
this.
and
You keep
distractions.
moving along.
No, no, there's nothing to do with Epstein. The
It's
House
all
Oversight
to do with
Committee,
Epstein.
the House Oversight
How
Committee
much
is
to do with
working
Epstein?
on the Epstein files right now, releasing 34,000 pages and more on the way.
You know she's key to
Let me
that discharge
finish. Let me
petition.
finish. The House
You
Oversight
just
Committee.
keep coming up with excuses. This is an excuse, so she doesn't sign on to that.
This is absurd.
This is the longest time the House
Do you
has
want me
been
to
out of
answer the
session.
question? If you ask
Because
questions,
you're
let
not
me answer.
actually answering the question. This
Okay.
entirely has to do with the
Okay,
Epstein
you see,
list.
this is a publicity stunt. Let me tell you what's happening. The House Oversight Committee is working on release of the Epstein files. There are some of the biggest bulldogs in Congress and the Republican and Democrat side who are working on that aggressively.
By the way, the Epstein files are getting released by Republicans right after they released the Matt Gaetz files from a year or two back. Remember, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson was the person who intentionally covered up whatever the DOJ was alleging Matt Gaetz did. We know that he sent Venmo payments, but there was allegedly a deeper investigation into Matt Gaetz' actions. It was covered up by Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. It was so bad, Matt Gaetz literally resigned from his seat. Why isn't this talked about more? That we had a high-profile mainstream Republican resign due to sex allegations that were being investigated. Why isn't this talked about more? The reason I'm looping this back is because now it seems like they're covering up more
I
stuff.
met with the victims before they went out and did the press conference, and the House Oversight is doing its job. Did you know, you might not, because we haven't been in session, the House Oversight has its lawyers in New York City combing through the Epstein estate files. None of that had been anticipated by discharge petitions or anything else. They have subpoenas that are being supplied, they're being followed through on by the Department of Justice. We have more subpoenas that are outstanding for big name persons, Democrats and Republicans, and there are more documents coming through. They're doing the work, they're doing it methodically, they're doing it with subpoena power, and you don't need an act of Congress for that to happen because they're already on it.
So then
And I was
so why are you
in
still
the room
blocking
with all
her?
of
Why are you
them.
blocking her then?
I'm not blocking her, I just
This
told
is the
you.
longest time that House Oversight has been out of session, that's not in a regular office session. This is the longest time it's taken for someone to be sworn in, and it all had to coincide with the fact that she's going to be the deciding vote on the discharge petition.
I know
He said something very important there. This is the longest it's ever taken to swear somebody in who won an election.
You're upset. I know why you're upset.
Mike,
you
I
get a
gotta-
lot of heat because the government is closed down and you guys
Well, we're
made
not.
the decision.
Actually, no.
You wait,
Mike,
you
I
made
got
it
a-
5
Mike,
times
Mike,
to
I
keep the
got a
government
request.
closed.
I got a-
The gaslighting, I love it. I love the gaslighting from Mike Johnson. He's like, you guys are mad because you shut the government down. Dude, you're sitting there smugly talking about how you won't let this representative be sworn in, and the government shut down while you guys have power, and you're going to point to 2 Democrats and say it's their fault? Let's see what Senator Kelly has to say. I know he'll bring it home.
Yes.
Why don't we do this? Why don't you bring back your Republican members so we can have a serious negotiation with them?
We're going to have plenty of
about this?
negotiations as
Well,
soon as you open the government.
Why don't we
Let me
bring
tell you
it
why
back?
they're not here, because the House
I
did
mean,
its job.
14 days since July 25th.
Yeah, and real people
They've
are
been
feeling
on
real pain.
And they've been on an extended summer
Let's
vacation.
feel the pain with
They're not on
So you
vacation.
bring it back.
Wait a minute.
I have
wait
an
a minute.
opportunity. I can talk to every one of my Republican colleagues down there, and we're talking about
Every
this
day
all
we're
the
talking
time.
Yeah, and they're talking about it over here as
and
well.
And
keep
our
your members
Republican
hidden.
members from Arizona, where are they? They
They're,
are
they're in
in
their
Arizona.
district. They're in their districts working.
They're sitting.
Wait a minute.
They're sitting.
Oh, hey, Mike
sitting-
Waller. They did
They
their
are
job.
sitting in their
Come
basement.
here, Mike Waller from New York. Tell
With
them.
all due respect, you voted multiple times to keep the government shut down, okay? The Republican members from Arizona voted to keep the government open.
They did.
So don't sit here and try to lecture us about
So
whether
tell
or
me
not
what's
we
gonna
did
happen
our
with the
job.
premiums
We
in
did
your
our
district?
job, you did not.
What's going to
Well,
happen
you're
with
not
the
doing your
premiums?
job
What happened to
right now.
ACA
Oh,
premiums?
you mean the bill that I'm signed on to
Oh.
extend it? Oh, yeah,
When
cute,
is-
right,
when is that
because you
gonna
know what?
happen?
We actually have put forth legislation to do it. You guys just keep pontificating. How about you go down the hall
we're having
and
a
go
discussion.
vote
You
to
know that
open the
that's not
government
gonna
up? That
It continues to get heated. Then Mike Lawler goes and confronts leader Hakeem Jeffries over the exact point that he just tried to make to them. He says, listen, I have something written up that will give you guys the ACA extensions you're asking for. That's what he says. In order to try, and you know what's really funny? In that, he's conceding that Democrats don't actually want health care for people who are illegal. That's what they're claiming, the Republicans. He basically concedes that they just want a healthcare extension. He's conceding in that. Let's watch him try this on Leader Jeffries.
Your extension.
Yeah,
Why don't we
did
sign
you-
on right
let
now?
me ask you a question. Did you
Why
get-
don't we
did
sign
you
on
get
right
permission
now?
from your boss?
Why don't we sign on right now?
Did your boss, Donald
You
Trump?
can easily extend
Did your
the
boss-
ACA
did your
right
boss,
now.
Donald Trump,
He's
give
not
you
my
permission?
boss.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. And by the way,
So let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote
Let
to
me
shut
ask
the
you a
government
question.
down?
You
Why
know
did
I
you
didn't-
vote to shut
let
it
me
down?
ask you a question.
For years, you
Well,
always lectured about how we need to keep the government
you're
open.
making a show of this to
No,
make
it's
yourself
sad.
relevant.
It's sad. You could
It's
easily
an
sign on to
You're
this.
embarrassing
You
yourself
could
right
sign
now.
on to this. The only
You're
embarrassment
chasing
here is
clout.
you.
You're an
You could
embarrassment.
sign on to the bill.
Let me ask you a question.
You have 4 Democrats on here.
Let me ask you a
Why won't you
question.
sign
Let me
on
ask
to
you a
it?
question.
It's a
Let
clean
me ask you
extension
a
for 1
question.
year.
You voted for the one big
Clean
ugly bill,
extension.
correct?
I voted for a
The
tax cut
largest-
bill that gave
the
the largest
largest
tax
cut-
cut
the
to
largest-
Americans in history,
the
including, by
largest-
the way, the average New Yorker getting a $4,000 tax cut. Are you against that?
You're embarrassing
Do you wanna-
yourself right
You want
now.
to cut the standard deduction in
The
half? Is that
largest
what you
cut
wanna
to
do?
Medicaid in
No, we
American
voted
history.
out
You
waste,
voted for that.
fraud, and abuse, by the
You
way.
voted
Tom DiNapoli, the
for a
Democratic
permanent-
controller of New
Let me
York,
ask you a question.
pointed out that $1.2
If
billion
you're gonna
wasted.
listen, you're not gonna talk. You're not gonna talk to me.
Wasted
You're not
on
gonna talk to me
fraud
and talk
and
over
non-New
me
York residents
because you don't
getting
want to
paid.
hear what I have to say.
Oh, I'm
So
listening.
why don't
Go
you
ahead.
just keep your mouth shut?
Oh,
Because you
is
showed
that- is
up.
that the way to
You
talk?
showed up. You showed up.
Yeah.
And so you voted for this one
I
big
signed
ugly
on to
bill,
this. You can extend it
a
right now.
permanent extension of massive tax breaks
Yep.
for your billionaire
So
donors.
90% of
So
Americans.
they can get a permanent.
So there's a moment there where Leader Jeffries goes, you can shut your mouth. It's a forceful moment and it's good. Someone in the, I don't know who it says it, someone off camera, I believe, goes, is that the way you're supposed to speak? Are you joking right now? You're not okay with the minority leader of the House using firm language at somebody who keeps cutting him off, but the president of the United States can, I don't know, threaten to invade Chicago, threaten to arrest governors like Pritzker just today, threaten to go after people over and over, political opponents like Comey and Bolton. Yeah, I'm sorry, but Leader Hakeem Jeffries can say what he wants at this point. We're going to leave it there. If you appreciate this, drop a like, subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one.